I'm joined now by Francesca Polini, an adoption campaigner and the chair of the support group Adopt a Better Way. Do you think this is a good idea in principle, that parents who want to adopt should think about taking siblings on rather than just one child?
It's a really difficult one because the post-adoption support is so little that when taking on siblings, it means that they're quite old, in inverted brackets, children. And therefore, I think with the best will in the world, it's really difficult to take on two children who've been through the trauma of being neglected and or abused at home, then have been shunted around the system, sometimes separated from their siblings and got back together again, then to take on two older children with so many problems and no support is actually quite a challenging task, and a lot of parents find it really difficult. I think the problem is at the core that we shouldn't let it get to the point where children spend so much time in foster care and therefore are damaged to the extent that it's hard for parents to take on more than one of them with little support. So if the children were adopted much sooner, then by the time the sibling came, then you would have adopted a baby sibling as opposed to two much older children, and that would have been a lot easier, obviously. So I think the problem at the core is that we let children be in foster care for too long.
But we heard from a couple earlier who adopted siblings, and they said the fact that the brother and sister were together actually helped them to bond better with the adoptive parents, because they at least have the comfort of having a familiar figure in their lives.
Absolutely, and I think that's absolutely right, to try and keep children together who only really have each other, and it's the only family bond that they have by the point they get adopted, is absolutely ideal. However, that needs to happen as early as possible in their life, so that they're not too damaged and too difficult a prospect for the prospective adoptive parents. So absolutely, the idea is, I don't think the solution is splitting up children. I think the solution is trying to get them adopted as soon as they become adoptable, so that they can stay together, and it's easier for families to take them on when they're a lot younger.
And also there's the economic argument, isn't there, because it's quite expensive bringing up a child, so two children even more so.
Absolutely, and plus if you already have biological children or other adopted children, to introduce more than one in an already established family can be quite challenging. Because
parents who adopt don't get much financial help compared to parents who foster, for instance.
No, they don't, absolutely, and they don't get a lot of other type of support, especially given that sadly children, as I said, who've been removed from the birth families and then placed in foster care tend to have quite serious mental health problems or have been subject to neglect, and first in their biological families and then by being shunted around the system for a few years.
So the key to all this is trying to get the process started as soon as possible.
Absolutely, and I know that the government is certainly heading in the right direction in terms of making the right changes, but I think the problem is dramatic and it needs dramatic intervention. There's a child that goes into care in this country every 20 minutes. That's 3 per hour. It's about 70 a day, and we absolutely need to make some much more dramatic changes to the system.
Good to get your insight, Francesca Polini. Thank you very much for talking to us here at Sky News.